Day. Happy Monday, everybody. Welcome to Draglist Live, where we bench race with the world's top drag racers. My name's Bill Pratt. It's great to be with you tonight. Tonight, folks, we're joined by a true legend, the original Rocketman himself, Kai Michaelson. Kai's built everything from record-setting dragsters to movie rockets and even space shots, and he's here to share this incredible ride of a lifetime. Before we bring in Kai, let's go to John real quick. John, how are you, sir?
I'm doing great here, Bill, and howdy from Houston, everybody. Please join us on the live chat. I'll take notes and I'll pass your questions and comments along to Bill and Kai.
Thank you, John. And for folks, click the like, the little thumbs up down below, click the share. Let your friends know we have Kai Michaelson here live. And to prove it, let's bring him in. Kai Michaelson, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me on, Bill. This is going to be fun.
I'm looking forward to so long. It's we've been chatting over the internet for years. In fact, in 2002, you wrote an article for us that showed, I think, the first 50 cars you had built with rocket motors. You've done quite a bit since then, haven't you?
Oh, yeah, I'm still at it. I'm a kind of a rockaholic, I would say, but I'm also a racer. I love all forms of racing. I'm a real motorhead. If it makes noise, blows up or whatever, I'm interested in it. So I'm interested in, a lot of different things,
I
lots of
love it.
different
Well,
things.
you've done a lot of different things. Before we do anything else, though, we don't wish you happy birthday. So
Hey, thank
yesterday
you.
was the big day, right?
Yeah, 87, man. Boy, that sounds pretty old to me.
Still
But
getting
yeah,
it
I'm
done.
blessed.
Well, it's so great. So we're, we, as I said to you, back in 2002, you wrote an article where you had it was called "The Rocket Man Checks In." So guys, go look at Google. You can't miss it. Just type Draglist, "The Rocket Man Checks In." You'll get to see all those cool dragsters that he built back then. Well, dragsters and about everything else. I think you saluted. If it didn't salute back, you throw a rocket motor on it, wouldn't you?
Yeah, something like that. I put rockets on just about everything, including an outhouse we launched and a coffin. But yeah, I put rockets on just about everything you can even think of.
I
Yeah,
love it. Well, what
yeah.
have what have you been doing lately? Well, I know you've got a ton of things going on. What's some of the latest projects?
Well, actually, it's like I'm always building something weird. I just built a beer-powered motorcycle. Now, as we chat about all this stuff, if you go into my Facebook page, you'll find me in there and under Kai Michaelson. Or if you go into YouTube, there's over 400 videos of the projects I've built through the years and TV
Wow.
shows and stuff I worked in. But yeah, so we're working on a steam-powered motorcycle right now and a steam-powered dragster. So those are our main projects we're working on right now. Yes.
I love it. So was that steam powered is beer powered, huh? Tell us about that. Does that
Well,
alcohol give you a
yeah, you
slow
just
down?
all you do is punch in beer powered motorcycle and you'll find it. So basically, we got a motorcycle. Looks like a motorcycle. It's got a keg of beer in it. You pour beer into the gas tank, but it don't go in the gas tank. It goes through the frame rail, and inside that beer keg is a high pressure vessel, and it's got a heating coil. So you heat the beer up to 400 degrees. There's a throttle valve on it. When you turn that throttle valve open, the beer flows out the back through some converging, diverging nozzles. Once the beer hits the atmosphere, it expands 1,600 times, turns into superheated steam, and gives you thrust. It's the way it works, but it's a cool looking bike.
I'll bet, I'll bet. So you pretty much know about every way there is to create thrust and push.
Yeah, pretty much so. I started out. I mean, I've been at this for a long time. I think when I got my first chemistry set when I was a young boy, it taught you how to make black powder. And
Hmm.
so it went from firecrackers to bombs to rockets. And the best part, my mother went down to the drugstore and told the druggist down there, if my son ever needs chemicals for his chemistry set, it's all right to give it to him. So that's how I got my early start into rocketry.
Awesome. They had to they have to point out the Band-Aid aisle as well, though. That's what I wonder.
Well, yes, I've had a few always in my life, but I try to be careful. But some of the things I have built over the years, yeah, it could get you real bad, that's for sure.
Well, it's pretty amazing. But the one thing I thought was interesting, and I was lucky enough to be a fan long enough ago to watch the Rockets go down the strips. Can you tell us how you got sanctioned by NHRA, and I think Tony
Yeah.
Fox and you worked together. Can you tell us how that all went together?
Yeah, I got to tell you how it started. I ran a top gas car for many years, and that was one of the pro classes on NHRA, and then they dropped it and brought in pro stock.
Right.
I mean, that really ticked me. I love to go racing. I love the push starts and going, it's building up the oil pressure and hitting the switch and the motor comes to life. I mean, man, that's in my soul. And then NHRA went and dropped that. And then we got involved in the Midwest All Stars, which we ran for a couple of years. And at this point, I've got a rear engine car. And I was at Union Grove and I was talking to Doug Rose, and he had a jet car. And here I find out he's getting paid $600 for making 2, 3 runs when we could make $150 running our top gas car. I go, wait, something's wrong here. But anyways, the bottom line, I ended up pulling the Hemi out of the car and put a rocket motor, hydrogen peroxide rocket motor, 3,000 pounds. Anyways, I was working on it, and Tony Fox, who lived directly across the street from me, who I'd done some prototype work for him in the past, he came over and said, "Wow, what is this?" And I said, "It's a rocket car. What are you going to do?" Exhibition racing. He had never heard of it himself. And he
Mhm.
says, "Kai, if you do some prototyping, build my trash compactors, new line for us, we'll get a truck and all that, and we'll go racing." Well, that's why it was called the pollution packer. We made
Wow.
trash compactors. And so we raced together for a period of time. Well, actually, I'll start where our first time we went out was at Union Grove, and Tommy Iowa was there. And I think on the very first time we ever raced anybody, we left him like he's sitting still. And now there was one other actually, Craig Breedlove was going to bring his rocket car, but his rig broke down or something like that. And the Courage of Australia was there, and that was supposedly had run 300 miles an hour at a track out in California,
Mhm.
some private deal that did. And so once we ran, they wouldn't take the thing off the trailer because we wanted to race side by side. And he said, "We're not going to race anybody side by side." So
Yeah.
they ended up giving us their money also. Well, when
Wow.
we got back to the factory, Tony, and I think we ran, I have to think about it. We ran around 280 or something, but you got to realize the other cars, the fuel cars, they were running like 240s back then
Yeah,
in
sure. Well, not
70. Oh,
what
that'd be 72s in
yeah.
1972.
So yeah, nobody was
So,
going 240 yet. They're getting
right,
getting
right.
close.
So we went, then from there, a month later, we went to the Bonneville Salt Flats and we set a bunch of state, national, and international records. I believe it was like 13 records or something like that. Well, then we had a contact with, we had the vice president of NHRA came out and some other people from NHRA came out that we invited them, paid their way out to come out and watch us at the Bonneville Salt Flats.
Hmm.
So that's when the talks first came in. So at that point, we flew out to California. We talked to Wally Parks, and he says, "Yeah, we explained that rocket motors don't blow up. They have a full throttle range on these. They didn't know that you can go 5 miles an hour. You can go stop. You can go."
Right.
And we had a lot of safety backup equipment on. So they came up with the rules where we could not run over 300 miles an hour. We could run 10, if we ran 10% over a couple times, that was all right. But if you ran faster than that, they would take your license, the driver's license, and the car license away, and
Wow.
you'd have to go back to California and redo your licensing again. So those cars were all capable of going well, most of them capable of going 350 miles an hour back then.
Right.
So
Wow.
basically, we would shut off early, or you can also alter the power by the amount of pressure that you put into the tank. So you could do like you had like over 3,000 pounds of nitrogen pressure, and you could reduce that down to 500 through a dome loader regulator. But so we could control that. You could go 5 miles an hour. A lot of people didn't understand that. You can stop, you can go. That's what's really cool about a hydrogen peroxide rocket. Now, the other cool part of it is this. We would run that thing for 1 year and we would change the throttle string and the parachutes. That was it. That was the
Wow.
maintenance. So when the field guys are running every round, thrashing, I know I had oil thrown on me. I know all that game. We're no longer, now we just fuel the thing up, put our feet up in the chair and wait to run. So that was kind of
Wow.
what I liked about rockets.
That's
Pretty cool.
amazing. Did you those cars were relatively light compared to the fuelers, were they not, or were they about the same? Or
No, the cars themselves, yeah, they were light. They're under 1,000 pounds, yes.
Mhm.
And of course the fuel's heavy and all that, but once the fuel's gone, you know, the car gets lighter and lighter really quick.
Right.
I mean, you go through 18, 20 gallons of fuel in 4 seconds. So
Right.
yeah,
Wow. I was
you unload a
wondering,
lot of weight.
yeah, because obviously they could do 350, but even 300 back then. I mean, probably weren't a lot of tracks that had enough shutdown for those cars if they had been heavier. Was that
Well,
how
yeah,
many?
right. But you know, one of the problems was our chutes were actually too big for those cars. Jim Deese, you know, he didn't. Look, back then they didn't have all the computers to calculate the strain and all the
Right.
drag. They didn't have. So they say, well, it looks about like you got to use like one like this. So he sold us parachutes that they put on jet cars. And like we had a 12-foot for the main and a backup would be like a 14-foot, but that was way too much parachute for those cars back then.
Yeah.
But I mean, we were like gladiators, man. They were experimenting with us at those kind
Right.
of speeds back then. No hydrogen peroxide rocket car ever blew up, ever. Motors, no. The big thing was stopping,
Yeah.
stopping those cars. Yes. And we ran on some short tracks, but you pull out both those chutes, you got a lot of laundry out there, a lot of laundry to stop you.
Because those jet cars at the time were monsters, weren't they? They were quite heavy, weren't they?
Oh yes, a lot of weight, and they were, most of the cars outside of when Roger Gustin came out with a really well made,
Right.
a real race car,
Yeah.
not a tank, even a
Yeah.
lightweight car, and they did a really good job with this program. Yes,
Yeah, Gustin did a lot to legitimize the jet side of it,
yes,
like he
yeah.
did the rockets, and it really awesome. Well, you've built and worked on more than at the time. Well, tell me what's the total now? At one time it was 30 rocket vehicles from dragsters, snowmobiles, boats, even a wheelchair, as you know. But
Oh, something, to be honest with you, Bill, I don't, it's more than that. It's just, I don't know where to start, actually. Yeah, we put rockets on just with a, oh, by the way, I've turned my house into a museum where
Oh,
Buddy and
great.
I live. We got like a 15-room house, and the walls and the place is plastered with rocket powered stuff. You know, more motorcycles that we built, just everywhere, every room you go into, it's got stuff. So if you ever get up in Bloomington, look me up. There's a phone number on the door. Call me
Okay.
if I'm around. I'll let you in the place. But
Sounds
it's a
good.
fun place, and it's our shop too. We build everything in there, and yeah, we live where we work, and we live with our museum.
I love it. Well, let's take a couple minutes and go talk to our folks in the chat bleachers, as Dina Parisi tells us. That John, who's out there? What they have to say?
Well, we're here from coast to coast tonight. We have 15 people watching and about 5 or 6 people commenting at this time.
Mhm.
Randy Johnston in Northern California says, "Good evening, gents. A steam-powered dragster. How cool is that?" And I told him that's very cool. And Mark Malinsky and Rich Panicaro in New Jersey are both with us tonight. They say good evening. And Kay Thurkelson said, "I am so looking forward to tonight's show. I had the pleasure of meeting Kai, his son, and friends at the Bonneville Salt Flats during Speed Week earlier this year."
Cool. She's our roving producer.
He's a good person, very good person. Yeah,
She's
I was blessed
awesome.
to meet her this year. So yeah, pretty cool.
Now, Randy Johnson just made a post, and I kind of agree with him, but we'll get your take on this, Kai, because you're the expert. He said, "I do not know why NHRA banned the rocket cars, thinking that they had a tendency to go airborne. Actually, it is stopping is the problem."
Well,
Okay, first
what do you
off,
think?
can I clear the air on
Yeah,
NHR?
please. Let's hear it from the man himself.
Okay, to the best of my knowledge, NHRA never banned rocket cars. And I'll tell you what happened. So when we first started racing, we were getting a barrel of fuel, I believe, around $150, and then plus there was a core charge of $50 on the tank. And so one day, I built a car for Fred Goski. Now there's a lot of cars that are out there running now, and I built a car for Goski, and Goski went to order some fuel, and the guy at the plant says, "You got to tell those guys to start turning in the containers because we're running out of containers." So fearless Fred, the smart guy he is, he would say to if he the guy actually, had extra containers, he'd say, "Hey, you don't have to screw with them. I got to bring a whole bunch over. I'll buy I'll give you the $50 and I'll take care of the." No, he would keep them. Now they're running out of containers. Guess what? They raised the price from $150 to $1,200.
Oh
Now
Oh,
man.
guys
man.
are starting to sell their cars off. Ghostski's buying every single car.
Wow.
Now it got to the point where in order to get hydrogen 90% hydrogen peroxide, you had to order a tank load and have a place to store it. And basically that was the end of hydrogen peroxide racing.
Oh
That
no.
was the end. Since then, we've found a source for fuel, and we've run a little bit. We've run the go-kart, and we revived a couple other rocket cars that we've been messing around with. And the guys with the rocket belts, a lot of the guys with the rocket belts make their own hydrogen peroxide.
Hmm.
They distill it from them. But anyways, without getting into that too much of that. But like I say, to the best of my knowledge, I've never seen a letter that ever said that they banned. The program just stopped.
Wow, wow. You heard it here first because that's news to me. And Kai, if I can build off that a little bit. So I know Slam and Sammy and other guys raced in Europe a little bit, and Iredem and those guys. Can you tell me,
Yeah.
did they have their own source there or over in
Yeah,
Europe?
well, there's a company in Germany that was making it over there, and there's a couple of other guys that were making it over there, but it just wasn't. I was out of rocket car racing in '82
Mhm.
and went on to other interests like putting a rocket into space.
Well, definitely going to
Yes.
talk about that. Cool. Well, thanks, man. That's a scoop here. I had no idea. John, anybody else with a thought?
Yeah, we're having some comments come in right now. Pete Mariello in Los Angeles says, "Good afternoon, all. Is Kai coming to Bakersfield?"
I still might make it there. I'm not sure it's coming up this weekend, but it all depends. I got a couple of situations going on right now, but I really want to come out there. Yes, we'll see.
Cool. Thanks, Pete. Kai, maybe Bill. No, won't make it this year, but we'll
Oh,
catch you
I
next
love
year.
that Bakersfield. That's great. That's really cool.
It is awesome, isn't it? John, anybody else with another thought?
Yes, Dwayne Wagner just said, "Kai is my lifetime mentor, going back to our days working with Dar Robinson."
Yeah.
He says, "Not well known is that Kai is dyslexic, which inspired him to innovate in ways most people cannot. He has a photographic mind."
Yeah.
There you go.
Mechanical photographic mind. I surely do. My head is nothing but a big hardware store. I plug in all, that's why I'm pretty good at building stuff, is because I know all about hardware. Every time I see a way a bracket's made, so, a spring or something, I go click and it's there. Yeah, I'm a walking hardware store.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, my head's a junk drawer, so that goes
Yeah,
with
nothing wrong with
that.
that.
Well, Kyle, let's talk about because I'm a numbers guy. I do want to talk about the one really maybe one of the most famous racing things that you did was Kitty O'Neill with
Yeah,
the pass out at Mojave. Tell us a little bit about Kitty O'Neill.
we're breaking up here a little bit.
I lost the sound and the
Yeah, yeah, we
program
lost it.
froze up. Okay,
Yeah, okay.
I think we're good now. Randy Johnston asked, "How fast and quick does the steam-powered dragster go?"
Well, it's in the making right now, but I don't see any reason why it couldn't run 300 miles an hour. And
Uh-huh.
the big thing is just runs on water. So you boil water, get it up to 400 degrees, and you've got the thrust.
Yeah, we're having some issues here. The program is freezing up on us, and Bill is frozen solid over here, and so am I. But Kai, you're still coming across.
Okay.
Now, okay, Crafty Kate showed up, and Jeff Hansen asked if Kyle and Kurt Anderson are going to rebuild the Arctic Arrow rocket sled.
Well, we haven't started on it, but It's in the, it's, it's back there somewhere. As a matter of fact, we just put that sled in the museum in Illinois. It's on display there right now.
Right. Yeah, we're getting some messages that the program is freezing up on us. I don't know what we're going to do about it, but Bill will take care of it here in a minute. And I can still do the show. Yeah. Pete Mariello said Kai can still do the show, which is good. We're glad you're with us. And Kay Thurkelson said she can't wait to see Kai's museum. Super Bowl, Super Bowl, Super Bowl.
Oh yeah, she's invited to the Super Bowl party. That's for sure. We have a big party up here every year, and people come from all over the country, and we have a good get together.
Right, cool. Dale Broderick is here, Dale and Lisa, and he says, good evening, everybody. Everybody's saying good evening to Dale. And Pete Mariello said, you two are doing fine. So it's you and me, Kai.
Oh no.
Now, I had a question for you.
There we go. We got it back. I can't tap dance, so I don't know what to say.
Sorry, guys. Yeah, I literally
What are you
lost
doing?
power here.
There's Bill.
Yeah, we lost power and house went dark. So, pardon me. We'll edit that later so it doesn't look like we're a 2-bit deal. But when we left, I was talking about Kitty O'Neill and that day out of the Army. Can you walk us through that day? Because probably the fastest.
Which day? You got to tell me which day.
Well, let's see. I know that it was the quickest DT over a quarter mile, the fastest speed over a quarter mile, although it was measured out in the desert. And then Kitty O'Neill, the stunt woman who was deaf, and there's a movie about her, and kind of tell us how that deal went together. And I saw headlines all over the world from that day. Tell us a little bit.
Yeah, well, they did her life story, Kitty O'Neill, which was Silent Victory. Soccer Channing played her part. And part of that was out in the desert where we were running the car and stuff like that, and the promo stuff. Anyways, we ran the quarter mile and 500 meters. Clocks were set up out there, and we made I think like 12 runs. And finally, we ended up bending up the car in between there somewhere. We end up. It's a long time ago, but the best we ran through the lights was 400, and the best I think the best ET was 3.22, something like that.
Yeah, 323.
Pretty damn quick.
Yeah, it's really darn quick.
But you gotta, but you have to understand, there's no limit. Rocket cars, man. Where is the limit? Where it comes into the aerodynamics and it comes into the tires. Like I mentioned my space shot. That thing went 0 to 400 miles an hour in 1 second, and that's a rocket. You put that on 4 wheels, you're going to have a ride.
Yeah.
But, yeah, and NHRA kept this under control. That 300 mile an hour deal. I mean, that was the deal. When Ed ran 347, I sold the car to Ed, knowing I was going to lose my license, and that was at Union Grove. And I told Ed, you better shut off 250, 300 feet before the lights. If not, you're going to be going at 400 miles an hour. Well, he went 348.
Yeah.
And this is 1970. Wait, no, we got 1978.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to believe that. The other day I got a little controversy with this NHRA when the fuel car.
Well, Brittany Force went 343.
Yeah, Brittany. Yeah. I mean, I didn't want to take anything away from her at all because I mean, she got a lot of credit. She's a very good person, a great job. But somebody said that's the fastest speed ever, and I says, no, it's not on a track. And I says, man, I know one. Dave ran at the Nationals there, and he ran over that, and then plus Eddie did, and I mean, I got newspaper clippings to prove it. And people, I know Union Grove. I just got inducted to their Hall of Fame here a couple of years ago, and we start talking these speeds. 300. Well, how the heck you ever going to stop here? Because nobody's even turning those kind of speeds out that track anymore. So they couldn't understand. But we were going from track to track to track all across the United States doing this 300 mile an hour stuff. When the fuel cars were running, 240s thereabouts.
Yeah, 240s, 250s. Towards that 250s towards the end of the 70s and into the 80s.
Yeah, when we ran the very first 4 second at Spring Nationals in Ohio there, big name guy, I won't say who it is, but he says, thanks a lot for what's that word? Now, drag racing. That's what he said to me. I said, well,
Yeah.
I don't know about that. But look at the
Yeah.
speeds they're running nowadays, I mean, just look at what they're doing now.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody would ever, like it's hard to comprehend.
I
But
wouldn't have imagined it. No.
where's the limit? I don't know. I don't know
Yeah.
what but these things are getting to be like bombs now. When they blow up, that's what I'm a little worried about. A little worried
Yeah.
about, the
It is
concussions
crazy.
and yeah, they come unglued now, like just it used to be like the old hydrazine days when a few of the guys were running hydrazine. I've heard a couple motors run with that. Sound like a shotgun, a shotgun
Right.
motor, a real shotgun motor running.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. So it went by Captain Ed, didn't he? Ed Ballinger.
yeah, Captain
Race
Eddie.
348 miles an hour, just for everybody listening. It doesn't know who Eddie is. It's not Eddie Hill, who did go 4 seconds first in a top fuel car, but this was
Yes.
years before that. Um, well, I mean, so exhibition cars, we see them now, and even the jet cars are like basically 570 machines at best. They're,
Yeah,
they're slow for, they could have gone, well, some of them did go fours eventually, but
yeah.
those 330-mile-an-hour cars, they just tune them way down now. And
Yeah, there's some very nice jet cars out there right now. I mean, they were really, you got to think about, they were pretty crude, pretty crude back then.
yeah,
Walt Arfons, Art Arfons, and
yeah.
this is all those guys. Yeah, they're pretty crude, but these cars now are a work of art. Yeah, definitely are.
Well, you say went pretty much into exhibition, and it was exhibition race, but I mean, Captain Rollerball and Rocket Backpacks, I guess, was Buddy part of that deal? Who was actually
No,
at
that
the
was my
helm?
son, Kurt Michaelson.
Kurt
No,
got it.
yeah, well, let me tell you, people laugh about that deal. He was getting paid $350 for making 2 runs, and he was
Wow.
14 years old. Yeah, the fastest, I think he ran about 53 at one track, the fastest he ever
Wow.
ran. But, it goes back to racing. Let me tell you the story real quick. When I got the comic done, the Conklin comic all done, I didn't have enough money to buy fuel. I'm here. I got 6 kids at home, and I worked my job, and I worked a part-time job, and I built motorcycle racing engines in my basement, but just to support my family. So I grabbed the yellow pages. I want to figure out to find some promoter or something, and I opened up the pages, and a company called Adams and Others, the very first listed one, and I called him. And he says, this sounds like a great deal for the Conklin Company. A week later, I had $50,000 in my
Wow.
pocket to go racing, to get fuel, get a trailer, and down the road. But you talk about, many, many years ago, Tom McEwen came up to Minneapolis to start a new racing association. I can't think of the name of it off the
Was it the
bat.
UDRA? Was it
Yeah,
part of?
yeah, yeah. So he came up, and I'm this skinny little kid. I was working at the bakery. I had my dragster and stuff. And I says, tell me, how'd you ever get that money from Mattel? And he says, remember one thing, kid, the squeaky wheel gets the oil. I never forgot that. And so I used to be a pretty shy guy, believe it or not, at one time. But yeah, so I'm a pretty much self-promoter, but it's got me through life. It's opened up a lot of doors for me in a lot of different things. Met a lot of really cool people in my life too. Yeah, a
Wow.
lot of cool.
No
Shook the
doubt.
hands of at least 5 different astronauts that walked on the moon. Now
Wow.
that's cool. But anyways, yeah, racing is in my blood and will always be in my blood. Always.
Well, it's so amazing. Well, let's talk a little bit about your film and stunt work, and you have a lifetime appetite for invention, of course, but you were a Hollywood stunt creator, right? A coordinator creating devices for films that had never been
Yeah.
built before. What's a favorite stunt you engineered, or maybe one that scared you a little bit?
Well, I got to tell you how it happened.
Okay.
So, okay, so Frank Azar out on the West Coast who builds race cars and all that stuff. I rented a small little spot out there when I'm out west so I could keep my car there and work on my car. And one day this stunt guy comes in the door and he had a catapult that somebody had made for him. And he says, can you weld this for me? And I looks at it and being the cocky guy, and I says, who built this piece of junk? He says, what do you mean? I says, look at all this plumbing stuff. I says, you should be using all aerospace, all the valves, all the lines, He says, well, where can I get that from? I says, you want me to build you one? So I built him a catapult. And now other guys are coming to me. Now I get involved with Dar Robinson, the #1 stuntman in Hollywood.
Wow.
Before you know it, I'm getting on the movie sets. I get myself an explosive license. Now I'm doing stunt work and stunt coordinating. It isn't like I went to school or college or anything to plan out. Yeah, you're looking at a ninth grade dropout, actually, that went to vacation for a little while. But yeah, so I don't have, but that's how I got into the business. And I was able to work with Dar Robinson and Katie O'Neill, the top top stuntman and stunt woman. So I was really lucky. I just really lucked out there. But I started building stunt equipment like they'd never seen before. We built descenders, decelerators, and catapults, and just did some crazy stuff. And we had our own show on ABC that we did, and most of the stunt specials are on TV back in the 80s and 90s and 2000. I was involved in them one way or another, and and worked a lot of TV shows, Unsolved Mysteries, Rescue 911, shows like that. Just yeah, a lot of commercials. Yeah,
That's really great. Well, you put the movie October Sky, which I think brought
yeah.
a lot of young people back into rocketry. You built
Oh,
some
that's a
rockets for that. How did that work out?
great show. Well, one of the coordinators, a special effects guy, called me up and needed some rockets, and I had some ideas how to blow them up and stuff like that. But yeah, I built rockets for him, and Homer Hickam is a very good friend of mine. It reminds me of my childhood because my childhood was just like his. We were a bunch of kids were building rockets in around the neighborhood. Yeah, we launched a lot of rockets when we were kids, and then
Right.
didn't get in trouble like they got in a little bit of trouble, but not at that point. We didn't. But yeah, if you ever want to see a great movie, October Sky, it just will lift you right up. And especially if you have kids or grandkids or stuff like that,
Yeah.
check that movie out. It's really a good film, very good
It,
film.
it's yeah, a kid from like a coal mining town, right? So his dad thought it
Yeah,
was just a kind of a goof, and it turned out to be he was
yeah,
legit.
yeah. He ended up in working for NASA, as a matter of fact. Yeah, yeah,
Unbelievable. Well, let's
yeah.
let's take a short break and see who else John has on the chat line, and then we'll go right back with Kai. Let's see what we got. I almost said Dar, but I guess we'll get Dar one of these days.
Yeah, what the heck? He's good. He's a pretty good guy.
Yeah, Mark Malinsky commented that a superheated steam power is awesome. And I agree with that. Joseph Dieters is here with us, and he said he loves this. And Doug's Speed Shop is here, and they said, hey. Randy Johnston said, Kai is one of the best guests ever on this show. And we,
Whoa,
and we
I don't
agree.
know about that.
He asked where you're located, Kai.
Oh, I'm Bloomington, Minnesota. Yeah, you can find me on the internet, all the way through the internet and YouTube, and yeah, thanks. Thank you very much.
And Randy said that he saw rockets from Vandenberg Air Force Base blow up on hydrazine. Said they were bright pink. And I saw Sammy Miller race here in Houston in 1978 in his funny car. And he went 468 at 297 on a 1 second burn.
Wow.
It was pretty wild.
Is that the Mustang too?
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
It was. And when he went by, I mean, by the time he went past us, because we were down track, by the time he came past us, it sounded like it was his mag wheels that were spinning that made that sound.
Hmm.
Well,
And,
Carlos said when the flames are green, it's hydrazine.
Yeah.
I've seen that, not too many people got to see a little bit of hydrazine, but I did. I saw it a couple times. Yeah, and you know it when it's hydrazine because it doesn't sound like anything else.
Yeah, I never got to see a hydrazine run, but from what I hear, they're pretty wild.
Yeah, I usually end up in a lot of pieces. The one thing I always wanted to do was take a top fuel motor and in the exhaust pipes, change the shape of the nozzle of the headers and inject hydrogen peroxide in it. So that would give you 8 rocket motors plus
Oh man.
the 12,000 horsepower motor got
I'd
in
be
there. Plus you got thrust. So who knows what would happen?
I'm wondering about the angle of those things. You might be, bend yourself into the earth there or something.
Well, that is going to bring up another subject maybe down the road here about something else, about maybe some accidents or things that happened with rocket cars and why they happened. But
Yeah. Well, why don't we talk about that? Because the one thing everybody goes to, and not, this 1973 Charlotte, North Carolina 8th mile track, I think was an NHRA national event, and somebody didn't shut off in time. And I don't know, I mean, I know that, Brett Kepner, for instance, knows the details. I think I've heard the details. I don't recall them. But from your perspective, that's probably the most impactful event for Rockets in terms of
well,
safety.
I was not there. I had sold the car by then to Tony. Tony owned the car, but pretty good source, and I've seen the videos and stuff. What happened was, first off, when I heard that he was going to be running on an 8th mile, because Tony always pushed him run at least run 300 on every run.
Right.
And he never run an 8th mile. And I was up to a speech up here in Minneapolis. And I says, "Where's Dave run this for?" And he says, "Charlotte." I said, "There ain't no track there." He said, "No, he's going to run in the infield." I says, "If he does that, he's dead." And I want to tell you something. Dave Anderson was a very dear friend of mine. I went to school with him. It goes on and on. But I really thought right then if he ran there. But what happened was there was a car down the other end, and there's 2 guys lifting the front end of that car. Boom, Dave's going fast, sees that, locks the brakes. The car spun around, parachute wrapped around that car, and there was no getting away from it. There's 2 guys holding the car across the track. How that happened, I have no idea. But the other one I'd like to talk about is Ramon Alvarez. Now, I saw where he put these wheel pants on the front of those spats. They call them spats or wheel pants in front of those
Yeah, yeah,
cars.
yeah.
And I says, if I were you, I wouldn't run those things. He says, "Kai, you're just jealous because you can't afford them." He had a lot of money. Those guys, they were in a different business than I was in. Let me tell you that without getting into that.
Yeah.
And I says, "No," I'm going to tell you, you're going to crash if you run those things. And the reason I said that, I stood behind many rocket cars that are off to the side at least. And if say if you got 5,000 pounds of thrust, you're loading that front end with 5,000 pounds of thrust. You've always got the steering wheel one way or another, just a little bit. And then when you click that motor, you'll always dart one way or another. You'll dart because you're pushing that way one way or another. You don't realize you are, but you are. And if you look at where the kingpin was at and the front of that pants, it was too much of it in front. And
Mhm.
so when it darted, he turned them, boom, slammed them right in the guardrail. And I won't even get into what happened there, but it was not a pretty scene. But yeah, it was something that happened. Again, we're running speeds of 100 miles an hour than the field guys are running back then. There was a lot to learn. Nowadays, and another thing, the guys who ran fuel or rocket cars, they had very little experience. I mean, you
Right,
look
right.
like Garlis, he could jump into a rocket car any day and
Yeah,
and do real good. But a lot of these guys, outside of Dave Anderson, he had a lot of experience. He ran a fuel car before. He ran a couple of fuel cars, and our
right.
our top gas car we also ran together. Yeah, yeah. But things happened back then. But the one thing I can say about rocket cars, none of them ever blew up.
Yeah.
You cannot blow a hydrogen peroxide rocket motor up.
Well, that's good. I know I mean, the wheel pants issue, even on top fuel cars, in the 70s, they look gorgeous, but a
Yeah.
lot of them a lot of the top fuel cars crashed. And some people attribute it to the pants, others, including some of the drivers of the fuel cars say, no, it's not that at all. So it seems like, do you have any opinion on that or generally, or is it just with the rocket cars?
No, just for the rocket cars, pretty much so, because of that. The fact that you're always leaning one, so you're already working yourself into the deal.
Right,
You got to start already, and
right.
and it's split seconds, less than that, milliseconds. Things
Yeah.
happen quick, and you just
Yeah.
can't react to it fast enough.
That might be the deal. Yeah, once you hit that thing, you're gone. And you
Yeah,
better, there's not
yeah.
enough time to like adjust. Wow. Well, you talked about going into space. So you've been to the edge of space with what, the civilian space exploration team,
Yeah, we
and
started
tell us about.
actually in 1995. A guy walked into my office with a magazine and a rocket magazine, and I started thumbing through there, going, "Oh my God, this is like the rockets we used to build when we were kids, you know, but look how big they are." So I'm thumbing through the page, and it says the record, something like 34 or 37,000 feet. And being the cocky guy I am, I bet you I could break that. So, anyways, I show up at a launch, and the first one blew up. The second one went pretty close to that, and then we went out the next year and then broke that record. And then I was thinking about, gee, I wonder how I can put a rocket in the space. Maybe I get a barge. You know, this is before Elon or anybody of these guys. And
Yeah.
what I found out was, well, first off, it's a federal offense if you don't have a license. So basically, it's 5 years in prison, quarter
Wow.
million dollar fine. So it's not something you want to mess with. So I got involved with I called this the Office of Space Transportation Department in Washington D.C. And I found out that well, okay, so I'm telling him I want to get a license and all that, and then he say, "Well, Mr. Michaelson, you put this into writing." So I'm dyslexic, and I'm going peck peck, search, spell check, send my masterpiece, and it went again and again and again. Then I come to the conclusion this guy's just stalling me. Meanwhile, a guy put $250,000 up called the Cheap Access to Space. And so the first civilian that could put a rocket into space would get this $250,000. So now there's like 25 other people are now calling this office,
Right.
and they're all getting the same thing. So I find one day what the heck? The guy's name was Otis. And I says, Otis, I said, no new day between you and me. I says, well, she says, what do you mean by that? I says, from now on, you're my public servant. I'm not yours.
Yeah.
I says, what's wrong with an American, a guy like me putting a rocket in space instead of somebody from Germany or some other
Yeah.
country? What's wrong with me being the first civilian to put a rocket in space? And so, anyways, we went round and round, and I asked who his boss was. And 45 minutes later, I got the guy's boss, end of the deal, and the phone number. And he said, "You can't go around me." And I says, so I dials the phone. Randy Repchek calls. I says, "This is Kai Michaelson for the Civilian Space Exploration Team." He says, "I know who you are. Why are you calling me?" I says, "Randy, because you need to get rid of Otis, and you're never going to get rid of me." So, as it turned out, there's 5 different federal agencies we went through, had to do an environmental impact study. Now, mind you, us guys are operating out of our garage. We're like hot rodders that we're doing this
Yeah.
stuff with. And no matter what paperwork that we got, one of the team members, a pretty smart guy in math, and he got us through this whole thing. Now it's to the point where they can no longer deny our license. I mean, we've got the bonding, all the paperwork, all the agencies. And so Friday, I call up Randy and I says, "Randy, where's my license?" She says, "Well, I don't know." And I mean, I was not happy. And I went off him. I says, "Next Thursday, I'm pushing the button with or without my license." Now they've got all the paperwork, they got insurance, bonding, and everything, security. When I locked my door, I'm telling you the God's truth, I was ready to go to jail because on Thursday, I was going to push that button. And guess what? Wednesday night, my license came out, but I was
Great.
ready to give up everything. Now, if you go on into YouTube, you'll see all this stuff that I've talked about. There's all the videos and on and on and on about it.
Right.
But when we blew up a number of motors, and my mother died when I was out there. I just had a horrible, horrible time getting it. We went all the way from '95 when I first got on the project, all the way up to 2004 before we finally did it. And we popped a
Wow.
lot of motors, number of motors, and spent a lot of money. But we did it, and I
We
beat
need this
perfect.
to be a movie. That's this
Yeah,
this.
well, actually, we got people who have started on, but we're $250,000 short. That we get that 250,000, we'll have that thing done, and it's going to be one heck of a movie. Out there's some promotional stuff in my YouTube on it, but
That's amazing.
it was the hardest thing I ever did in my life, but the most rewarding thing that I ever did in my life, and I don't know of anything that I could ever top that ever.
That's
I have that.
amazing.
I have the payload section in my museum here. That's
Wow. So did it,
3,520 miles an hour. Can you believe a guy built a rocket that went that fast?
oh, it's amazing. So are you still in orbit, or did they
No, no,
return to Earth?
no. One of the things was we had to bring it back. And we had to bring it back at a certain area, and we had a ballistic parachute that come at a very high speed that came out, and yeah, we recovered at 26 miles downrange. Yeah,
Wow,
you have
that's
to be you
amazing.
have to be going 16,000 miles an hour to pull it away from the Earth's atmosphere. But yeah, but we built the fastest thing ever built by a civilian. One thing is quarter mile and all the other racing records. But the one I'm most proud about is the speed that we went. And then later on, 10 years later, Jerry and the guys got together and Go Fast sponsored the rocket, and we upped it a couple more miles up and a little bit more in speed. So we
I
did it
love it.
again to back it up. Yeah.
Congratulations. Well, man, that's great. Let's do a final check-in with our chat guys. John, anybody else with another question or comment?
We have one comment since the last time we were on, and this is from Joseph Dieters. He says, "You're looking great, Kai. So much knowledge. Love this."
Well, thanks, Joe. Thank you very much.
Well,
And
oh, go ahead. Sorry.
yeah, we're caught up for the moment, y'all.
All right. Thanks, John. So appreciate it. And let's talk about the next generation. So we met Buddy just before the show. I know he's been around rockets since before he could walk, but and your other sons as well. Tell us a
Well,
little bit about
back
what's
to
going on there for the future.
back to Buddy a little bit. Before he could walk, now you see if you're ready for this one. There's only one baby picture of Buddy when he was first born, and I had this all planned. In my satchel, I had his fake stick of dynamite and a rocket, and his one and only picture of Buddy in the hospital is a rocket in one hand, and email me and I'll send you that picture.
I
And
love it.
a stick of dynamite in the other, and his real name is Rocketman. His middle name is Buddy Rocketman Michaelson. So
Oh, beautiful.
prime,
Oh, it's
yeah, he's
legal.
prime. And he's launched, he's made a couple of big rockets that he's launched, right? But he's got a rocket power, pulse jet powered go-kart, but he's built a number of rockets. He's working on the steam rocket right now. And we built a big rocket, a 30-foot rocket for a museum. And yeah,
Right.
so we're still putzing out in the shop, still building stuff just like we always have.
That is amazing. Well, and if you have any young folks out there who are interested in getting into rocketry but I mean, maybe lack the resources, I mean, what's your advice to how they should go?
Well, join the club. There's a Tripoli Rocket Association. Look it up. You'll find it real easy. And there'll be a prefecture in their neighborhood or at least their town or state. And join that club, and you'll learn all about it. And they'll certify you through different ranks. And before you know it, you'll be able to build a rocket and buy big motors, some really big motors, actually, once you get into it. But I would say that that's the best. And we need more of that stuff in our schools because rockets, whether it's math or the engineering in it and the propulsion, all this stuff, there's so many things and electronics, now electronics are really a big thing. But all those things you can learn. And look at Elon Musk, he's hiring, he needs thousands, if not tens of thousands of employees. The program that he is doing is mind-boggling. You can't even, I've been in this place, I've seen mass producing of engines. I mean, it's like that Ford assembly plant. It's unbelievable what this guy is doing.
Wow.
But the jobs are out there, high paying jobs, and all through rocketry. I'm talking to, male and female, the guy go out there, there's get that education and go to Mars.
Sounds great. John, you had another thought, sir?
Yes, we had a couple of comments come in as soon as I said we were caught up. And Randy Johnson asked, "What year did you go up into space, Kai?"
Well, I put a rocket up in space 2004. And
Okay,
we did
cool.
that about 20 days before Burt Rutan did. And then Elon Musk came down, but we got the very first license as a civilian to put a rocket into space.
Outstanding.
That's amazing. And Pete Mariello asked if it's on YouTube.
Yes, it is.
Okay,
Yes.
cool.
Yeah,
Yeah,
lots of
there's a
watching.
lot on YouTube. Yes.
He commented, he said, "I understand that they used rubber and sugar as solid rocket fuel."
Well, a binder. Yeah, you can actually sugar motors. You can build a sugar motor. Yeah, but the other stuff is basically aluminum and a binder that's put together, and there's some other chemicals in it too, without getting into it too much. But the solid motors, yes.
Very cool.
Amazing.
Thank you, John. And thank you guys out on the chat and appreciate it. And so Kai, when people look back on Kai Michaelson, what do you want them to remember? I mean, you've done so much. Obviously, getting into space is huge.
Well, I've tried to be a nice guy all my life, and so I'd like to be known as a nice guy, but more than that, a guy that never quit. Never quit.
I love it. Well, you're unbelievable. Thanks so much for spending some time with us tonight. One of the most extraordinary mechanical lives in history, racer, inventor, showman, pioneer, movies, TV. Thanks for sharing your story with us, Kai. And folks, check out rocketman.com for the great feature. What's the action? Check out our article, 2002. I'm gonna maybe ask you to add to that, and we'll put up a new version of it. But
Yeah, yeah. You can also, if you well, you can go onto YouTube and you'll see all that. I'm also on Facebook, and yeah, you can find me or just Google Kai Michelson. It'll lead you into a bunch of different areas.
sounds good. What we'll do is we'll go find that stuff and stick it in the chat here so folks can make it a little easier to find.
Oh, appreciate that very much.
But
Good times. Thank you so much.
Kai,
Yeah,
thank you so much for joining
yeah.
us. It's really great, and I look forward to following along with your next adventure.
Oh, there's a big one coming. All right, you got on that. All right, thanks. Thank you
All
very
right,
much.
thanks. Ladies and
Yeah,
gentlemen,
thank you.
Kai
Take
Michelson, the
care.
Rocket Man. Farewell, sir.
Thank you.
Unbelievable. Man, that was great. Let's turn it over to John for this week's JV's Take and the Racer of the Week. John, take it away.
Okay, I'm unmuted now. Thanks, Bill. My pick for Racer of the Week is Dee Dee Speed from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Dee Dee was recommended to me by our producer, Kay Thurkelson. Thanks, Kay. Dee Dee Speed Racing has an outstanding fleet of hot rods, and I'm honored to feature her tonight. Dee Dee's love affair with horsepower has been lifelong, but it wasn't until 2020 that she found her true calling, which turned out to be on the drag strip. People that have known Dee Dee from a young age would say her qualities are fierceness, passion, and intense competitiveness. She has been chasing competition and adrenaline since her earliest days, racing everything from ATVs, skid steers, farm tractors to cars. She was destined for a life defined by speed. Her first experiences with drag racing came when she certified with the Frank Hawley driving school, and she hasn't looked back since. Her first and most beloved machine was Black Steel, a 1969 Chevelle with a custom-built engine, a car she affectionately calls her baby. That Chevelle quickly became her signature, the car that announced her presence on the track and gave her reputation its first roots in the racing community. Muscle cars are not just Dee Dee's passion, they are her way of life. Alongside Black Steel, she races Blackout, her 1969 Malibu, and cruises daily in a 1968 Dodge Charger with a storied Hawaiian history. Among her collection is also a 1969 Super Bee, a car she treasures deeply and debates whether to keep it as a daily driver or transform it into her next race machine. My opinion on that, Dee Dee, is keep it on the street. It's just too good of a classic to change up. But you're going to do what you're going to do, and I'm behind you 100%. And for Dee Dee, these cars are not just steel and rubber. They are extensions of her competitive spirit. They're vessels for her relentless drive to go faster, push harder, and embrace the pure joy of racing. With each run, she continues to build not only her story as a drag racer, but also her passion to keep the story of muscle cars and drag racing alive. Dee Dee told me the other day that she's going to race with the Wisconsin Outlaw Series in 2026. And with the great hot rods she drives, I expect to see fantastic results from her racing. Dee Dee Speed, your hot rods are some of the finest we've ever seen. We wish you good luck, safe racing, and the best of times in the future. Everybody stay safe and well. You are the most important part of this show, and we love you all. It's a great way to spend an hour together on a Monday night. We'll see y'all next time. God bless America. Happy birthday, Jack Red. Back to you, Will.
Thank you, John. Appreciate it. And yeah, indeed, happy birthday to Mr. Jack Red, 91 years old today. And he is Jack approved and was a lot of fun hanging out with him at Bruce Larson's 27th annual USA One Drag Fest over the weekend. We had a great time, went up and visited with Bruce and Bill Zinkin and all of the great folks. I mean, I can't start listing them. We have photos up on Draglist or the Drag Race uh, Facebook page, the Draglist Facebook page. So check them out. Thanks to everybody there. It was just a lot of fun. So long, long day. Zipped up in the morning and had a great event. Went to our little diner that we go to once a year, and we visited all day, and then went out to dinner with Bruce and a whole bunch of fun folks, and then we hit the road again and back to the DC area. So it was a long, long day, but today I just want to wish the best of happiest birthday. So we have Kai who was 87 yesterday. Jack is 91 today. Unbelievable.
Yeah,
And
that is amazing. He's got so much energy and his knowledge and experience in our sport are unparalleled. He's just an amazing guy.
yep, it's I hope to be as half as energetic as those guys at half my way to their age. They're amazing. So and once again the USA One Drag Fest, just an awesome time. What a Chamber of Commerce day in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. 70 degrees. It was beautiful up there, and just everybody had a lot of good vibes, and looking forward to doing that again next year. This coming weekend, it's Nitro Revival out of Bakersfield, California. And, Cindy Gibbs and Steve Gibbs putting that on, doing an amazing job. I know our friend Pete Moriello will be out there along with so many others. Unfortunately, I won't be able to attend this year, but, tell me how good it goes. I'll be watching the YouTubes and the Facebooks and following along in my heart. But I can't believe it was like a year ago. It felt like it was a couple of weeks ago. I was just out there at Irwindale. But anyway, everybody enjoy, enjoy, enjoy. And there's lots of good stuff going on out there, man. Also, I just heard, like, think the first weekend in December, if I'm not mistaken, is the Eastern Museum of Motor Racing has an event up there as well. So might roll back up the highway to Pennsylvania to take care of that. We'll find out. Let's go on and talk about the upcoming guests. So thanks to Miss Kay and of course Mr. Pete. On many occasions, he brings us a great guest. But coming up October 27th, that's next Monday night, Christine Foster from the Foster Racing Top Alcohol Funny Car. I was looking at Mr. Rob McCabe today, put up some great updates, and Christine's one of them. So Rob is out there tearing up the drag list as he always does. But Christine Foster will be our guest next Monday night. On November 3rd, Andy Morocco with the Street Legal Drags. Thanks to Pete for bringing Andy our way. On the 10th, Paul Conlon, the Boston Monkey Racing Top Alcohol Funny Car, will be joining us. On the 17th, Stephen McLean, the Mill Road Boys Chevy Powered Nostalgia Top Fuel Dragster, will be joining us. And on the 24th, Radio Bob, Robert West, who replays our shows on his amazing internet radio show. Radio Bob will be our guest on November 24th. Going now into December, Lenny Lottig, who just won the NHRA Factory X Championship, will be here on December 1st. And Jason Harris will be here on December 8th, the four-time PDRA champion. On the 15th, Justin Schreifer, the funny car racer, will be joining us, announcing that for the first time tonight. Justin Schreifer. And on the 22nd, no show. It's Christmas week. My daughter Emily will be in town, and we're gonna have just a kind of lock ourselves in and eat a bunch of candy and bake some stuff and have a great Christmas. So I hope you do as well. On the 29th, then Teddy J. Say from Say It Loud Motorsports. That's the cool funny car that Billy Meyer did the burnout in at Ennis last weekend, and he'll be joining us. And then we've got a bunch of folks underway for January, and Kay has actually locked in some people for January and February already. We'll be announcing those folks soon. So anyway, the rest of the year looking good. Thanks to Kay, thanks to Pete. We're in great shape. Let's go on to folks to those we lost. A couple of names to mention this week. Really, a couple that were I think probably more than a week ago, but we didn't get the information. Then Bill Boreski, a Division III racer, passed away on the 8th of October. Farewell to Bill. And on the 9th, Tom Resco, who was a longtime Raceway Park starter, lost his battle with cancer on October 9th. So farewell to Tom Resco, well-known, well-loved person. On the 16th of October, we lost Ken Thomas. Ken was a long and storied, had a long and storied career in Texas outlaw pro stock and pro modified racing. He had the Bad Bird series of cars, which were probably his most famous, but he drove them, he tuned them, he built tons of motors and helped a ton of teams. If you go back to Texas Outlaw Pro Stock and Pro Mod Associations, Ken Thomas all over that history. Or farewell to Ken Thomas passing away on the 16th of October. Also on the 16th, we lost Jeff Tripp, a superstock racer, well loved by everyone he raced against. Farewell to Jeff. And then on the 17th, David Wenzel. David was a stock eliminator racer who made used to race a 68 Camaro and really tough competitor, great guy. David was 88 years old, so long, impactful life. So farewell to these racers. Our condolences, of course, to the families and many friends. And we want to thank you guys for the thrills over the years, but proud to remember you. So with that, we're close to a wrap. John Kite Michaelson was a pretty amazing guest. I'm sure we could have done a whole nother show, but your thoughts on the show?
Yes, he could, and he delivered a perfect history of his involvement in rocket technology and drag racing and in the sport in general. He was just an amazing guest. He's not the kind of guy we'd get every day here. He's a totally different personality altogether, and I just really enjoyed listening to him. I'm looking forward to next
Christine
week.
Custer, yep. Christine will be joining us and tell us about Top Alcohol Funny Car Racing. That'll be cool.
That's right. I believe she raced last week too.
Yeah, I think that's probably where her Rob McCabe edit came from on the drag list. He's saving us. But anyway, thank you, John. Appreciate it, my friend. And folks, I do want to thank Kai Michaelson, who was unbelievable. Just so great to finally have Kai on the show, and look forward to checking in again one of these days. John Bachman, my brother, Kay Turkelson, who works so hard out there and traveling all over the place. Pete Moriello, tell everybody hello for me, Pete, out there in Bakersfield next weekend. Rob McCabe, who's just doing an amazing job keeping the lists updated. David Oakes with his great photos. Mel Bashore, Ron Toombs, and John Mernon II. And of course, Jeff Gilder, who got us started way back in 2010. And of course, thanks in heaven to Danny White, the man who did the great job of keeping our records for so many years, plus so many other cool things. Man, we got to go back and do some historical stuff because there's just too much cool stuff out there that we've done over the years. 30 years now, almost 30 years on the internet. And man, it's been a heck of a ride. Folks, click the like and the share button down below, the little thumbs up. Also, click the little red and black and white box down there. That's how you can subscribe to our channel, right there where it says Drag List. And of course, you can check in on draglist.com every single day to see what's new. We always post at least one new story every day, which is like usually drag racing from around the world, no matter where we find it. Today, some pretty interesting stories there. And then you can also find us on the Radio Bob Network, which showcases our shows on his internet program. So, folks, have an awesome, awesome week. So glad to visit with you next Monday night, the 27th is going to be Christine Foster. So have a fabulous week. And we will see you then for Christine. Until then, adios. Oh, by the way, yeah, sorry about the power outage. I don't know if we got a lightning strike or if someone ran into a transformer somewhere, but Stuff happens. Live radio.
That's right. That was
Bye,
interesting.
everybody.